By a show of hands, how many of you love taking math at school? I'm not a doctor, but I would venture to guess those of you who didn't raise your hands just now felt a little anxiety and discomfort. The topic of learning math for most people usually transports them back to a time of confusion, frustration, and perhaps even embarrassment. What I hear the most when I tell people about what I do is, "You teach math? Oh my God, I was terrible at math at school. I never ended up using anything I learned at all since then." What surprises me the most about statements like these is typically they come from educated, professional people. I've never once heard anyone say, "English? Oh, I never learned to read at school." Or, "Yeah, maybe I read a couple of books once, but I've never had to use my reading skills at all since then." Tonight, I invite you to my world of reimagining math for my students. And I invite you to examine your relationship with math as I walk you through a little how I've turned math upside down and inside out to make it more accessible, more applicable, and more beneficial for my students. My task was to reimagine, to show students that they can do math and to feel confident and capable of tackling math's challenges. And perhaps I can show you how the techniques I've used in my classroom to help my students overcome their fears of math might be applicable to other areas of your life as well. How will I know if I've succeeded? Like any good educator, there will be a test at the end of my talk. Don't worry, guys, it's an easy one. You're all going to do fine. Trust me, I'm a math teacher. For almost 20 years, I've been a math teacher, from public schools in the US to private language institutes in Peru. From New York to North Carolina, my license from both states reads that I'm certified to teach middle school to high school mathematics. But the course that I've taught the most is not AP Stats or Pre-Calc. Its official title is Introductory High School Mathematics. It's basically the lowest math level course you can take while still earning credit. And what kind of students take an entry-level course like this? Well, let's put it this way. Not the most enthusiastic of math learners. So, here I am, teaching a subject that most people don't want to learn to students who mostly don't want to be taught. And believe me, they let me know. Every day, with their sleepy eyes, their angry looks, their tired faces, I can tell there's much more going on in their lives than just their dislike of math. For instance, my student, always looking tired in the front row because he now is crammed into a hotel bedroom along with the rest of his family after they got thrown out of their apartment for being unable to pay the rent. Or another student who comes in late 15 minutes every day because she now lives with her aunt 2 towns over because her mother lost custody due to substance abuse. So, what do? I teach them math. Or rather, I should say I don't teach them math, but try and take the math out of math. Let me explain. The great German mathematician Carl Friedrich Gauss was given a problem when he was a young math student, a complex and tedious task. Here it is. Add up all the whole numbers from 1 to 100. Almost immediately, Gauss raised his hand with the correct answer, 5,050. So, how did he do it? Was he simply a brilliant mental mathematician? No. He reimagined the question. Instead of adding up the numbers in order, 1 plus 2 plus 3 and so on, he added the first and last numbers together. They totaled 101. The same is true for the remaining pairs of numbers. With 50 pairs of numbers, each totaling 101, what was once a complex and tedious math problem now becomes a relatively trivial one. 101 times 50 equals 5,050. A complex math problem reimagined. For far too long, math has been seen as this abstruse field of study, similar to Kafka's novel, The Castle, something all of us can view in plain sight, but seemingly impossible to either enter or attain. And that is not how it should be. I firmly believe that everyone can be successful in my math. This is what I do. I transfer a math problem into something positive and doable for any student by employing 3 approaches: play, personalize, and perception. First, let me introduce the concept of play. Take this assignment. Rewrite a fractional exponent so that the b term is the index of the radical and the a term is the exponent of the radicand. And I turn it into this. I tell a story. Every exponent is made up of a fraction that has a top dog and a bottom dog. And where does the top dog get to sleep? Inside the doghouse, of course. And the bottom dog, well, they don't get to sleep inside the doghouse. They have to sleep outside. So instead of rote memorization of an algorithm, students now get to decide which dogs get to sleep outside and which can sleep comfy and cozy inside the radical. Are we still meeting the requisite math standard? Yes. But by using this heuristic, students can joke and have fun and fully assimilate their knowledge into true learning. How do I know? Years later, students will often come up to me at graduation and tell me how they still remember the story about the dogs when they had to solve similar problems on their college placement exams. Math is now taking on the quality of play and fun. The benefit of using play typically results in long-term retention. My second approach is to personalize. One day, while I was teaching my class the concept of congruent triangles in geometry, I asked them, how can you tell when 2 triangles are congruent? My overly enthusiastic and always happy to volunteer ESL student raised her hand and called out, "Los palitos, los palitos," or translated from Spanish, "the little sticks." Her calling out "los palitos" ignited laughter throughout the classroom. So, for the rest of the period and the rest of the semester, both English language learners and native-born speakers called the lines for triangle congruency palitos. Congruent triangles, math world language, was now gleefully replaced with personalized language. The students had ownership, a renewed ability to relate to this math concept. What was once foreign and off-putting was now something the whole class could agree on. And instead of being told what the math was, they claimed the freedom and agency to decide what math was to them. By using the element of play and making it personal, I witnessed engagement where before students would tune out. I noticed a shift in their belief about doing hard work. Where before they would give up, now they persist. This is where the perception of doing anything hard, even challenging, is now seen as possible. This is my ultimate goal, to break the perceptions of my students to what they think is impossible to not only possible, but doable. In other words, reimagine. The educator Ignacio Nacho Strada writes, "If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn." My students taught me to be a better teacher. They showed me to perceive math through story, metaphor, renaming, imagination, qualities I never would have believed could be woven in to make math more accessible. At the beginning of my talk, I asked you about your relationship with math. So far, I've spoken to you about my approach to teaching math in my classroom. But the idea of play and making things personal to overcome challenges and obstacles can dovetail into your life as well. What do you find hard in your world? What do you avoid? What frightens you? And what might happen if you applied play, humor, or fun? Maybe those elements would help to lighten the load, remove stress, and offer you an opportunity for enjoyment and success. And now consider, what are the amorphous obstacles that you can surmount by making them more personal, more yours, by taking ownership? And perhaps those elements will help change your perception of what you are capable of what you can do and achieve. And, just like my math students, I think the answer may just surprise you. So remember at the beginning of my talk, I said that there would be a test? Okay, here we go. If you add up all the numbers from 1 to 10, what would your answer be? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it. Okay, time's up. Feel free to shout out your answers. If you remember the story of Gauss, we have 5 pairs of numbers, each totaling 11. And 5 times 11 neatly gives us our answer of 55. You all get an A+. Thank you.